Okay, good morning. Happy to be back. It was a great trip. Went to Greece on a boat and had a lot of time to contemplate and to do very, very deep meditations. And today's class, we're going to have an incredible revelation, something that I've been really helped me with. Today's class is L'Unishma Yerachmel Dianu Begedaya, Elisheva Banamaka, Dil Nesheva, Emnu Nesheva, Shefa Nesheva, Reina Malka V'Tov Basha. We have a great event on September 10th, which is going to be in Miami. I believe there's a few tickets left. And please share and rate the podcast. So today's class, we're going to talk about something I was able to study very deeply on my vacation. And I went into one of the Rabbi Ashok's teachings, and one of his teachings on which combines it. Again, Rabbi Ashok combines both the Zohar and the Arizal and the Baal Shem Tov. And I went to these books. It's not something you could read 20 minutes. You need like a good head, a really good head, because the amount of secrets and the amount of depthness in these teachings, it's not an ADD concept. So the book that I picked up was one of the books on the introduction, the gateway to wisdom of Kabala. And what he describes is he's asking, the first question he's asking, why in the world did God create the world? Like, what's the purpose of God's creation? So some people could tell you God created the world in order to follow His commandments. God created the world in order to fix the world. No, he says God's major purpose of creating the world was to give pleasure to His creatures, was to give you pleasure. That means we're supposed to be in this world having so much pleasure from God's giving. But, like I said before, it's our relationship with receiving that's the problem. It's our relationship with appetite that's the problem. It's our relationship to gratitude that's the problem. But at the end of the day, God's desire, He created this world in order to give. And it's the same concept today. When somebody appreciates something, you want to give them more. The Baal Sulam says that one who appreciates what he receives can be given more. And we know today that we have a famous Gemara that says one who's ungrateful will lose everything, right? One who seeks on what is not his, not only will he not get what he seeks, but what he has will be taken away from him. So we know that there's a concept that I can give you, and a great example of this was, we were on the boat, we had an incredible chef, and my kids were snacking every half hour. Every half hour they're snacking. We tell them, don't snack, okay, yeah. So they would keep on snacking, and all of a sudden the meals come out, and they don't eat the meals. They have no pleasure from the meals. We had pleasure from the meals because we anticipated that a snack would ultimately ruin the appetite. It would ruin the appetite, which would ruin the pleasure of the meal. So if there's no appetite below, there cannot be a pleasure from above. So we have to create the appetite for the pleasure. So what happens is, let's say all of a sudden you're eating every 20 minutes. Next thing you know, the chef comes out. How was the meal? I don't know. Ask my kids. I guess it was okay. They didn't appreciate it because they lacked the appetite. They lacked the appetite and they didn't appreciate it. So what happens? The chef didn't get pleasure either from them not receiving pleasure. But obviously for me, for my wife, yes, he received pleasure because we received pleasure. So I want to give you that analogy that really the Creator, God, gets pleasure when we get pleasure. When we appreciate things and when we're able to receive things the right way, then everybody wins. It's a win-win. But if there is no pleasure, if there's no appetite, then there can never be a pleasure, which is a problem. So I asked this question in my recovery center yesterday. I had a 2-hour session. And I asked them, hey guys, what's your appetite on recovery? What's your appetite on a spiritual awakening? One guy's a 5, one guy's a 10, one guy's a 12. So the bottom line is the light of the spiritual awakening is there, but it's given to the person who has the appropriate appetite for it. If you don't have an appetite, you're not going to receive it. I'm trying to get into another level of shape. And I hired this coach, and he gave me, this crazy thing to do. Go run at 11 o'clock, go on the treadmill at 11 o'clock in the afternoon, drink egg whites all day long. So I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. Thank you. I lost my appetite was not there. But if my appetite was great, I would be doing it. So it has nothing to do with the light itself. It has to do with the appetite. The question is how do we increase our appetite and how do we create an appetite where by us receiving, God's actually happy? And you can apply this concept pretty much to absolutely everything. You can apply it to everything. So this is what Rav Ashok tells us. It says that the measure of any joy or any pleasure is proportionate to the measure of the will to receive it. So this is why, if you think about it, we don't give children diamonds to play with. We give children marbles to play with. Because children cannot appreciate a diamond. Sometimes you're given things in your life, you're given marbles because you couldn't appreciate a diamond. Once you get to the depthness, where you start realizing, I'd rather play with the diamonds, then you will get the diamonds. But then you will say, when the marbles come, you say, this is not for me. I can't tell you how much this applies in relationships. People are dating, and they're dating 3, 4 people at a time, and they don't have an appetite to get married because they're snacking every 5 minutes. They're snacking every 5 minutes. So when somebody real comes, they rather snack. I'm not married. It's because sometimes we are required to go into depth. God wants to give us a fulfillment much greater than what your fulfillment is. Whatever you think is pleasure, that's why our sages tell us that any spiritual pleasure is 1,000 times greater than any physical pleasure. You imagine that? That means the depthness of having a deep, loving relationship and procreating and having it, it's much greater than a hookup with some girl in Mykonos. Do you understand? But if you're in that mindset, you will never get the deep pleasure of something much, much deeper. And the problem is when we go for the snacks, when we go for the easy pleasures, you know what happens? That now creates the itch. It creates now that one girl becomes 2. That one drugs becomes, now I need cocaine also. It goes the other way. Instead of deepening the depthness of really receiving the right way, when you are not focused, you start getting the opposite. You just get dopamine hits, which will never lead you to any kind of depthness or spiritual awakening or any kind of change. So this is where in my meditations, I ask myself, where do I need to build more hunger? Where's my appetite? If we look at the curses that happened to the Jewish people, it's when they stopped having an appetite to learn, when they stopped having an appetite for spirituality. They lost their appetite. They got cold. It's better that you should have an appetite and you can channel the appetite. Let's say your appetite is for the wrong things, but at least it's an appetite. Eventually you can channel it to the right things. But when your appetite is cold, you can't help the person. This is why our sages tell us, if you got bit by a snake, you could still pray, because the snake is hot. If you got bit by a scorpion, you should stop praying. If your mindset is cold, if you have no passion in your life, then we have a problem. But if you have passion, at least you can channel the passion. You can channel the passion. It's very, very important. So you have to think about yourself. It's not really about God's not wanting. God wants to give, but He wants His pleasure. So just like I was able to enjoy the chef's meal, he also came out. The chef also came out. How was the meal? Great. He had an enjoyment. So both people have an enjoyment. The question is, both people have an enjoyment. You can go into a relationship all of a sudden just to receive. Let's say you get very physical. It's like, imagine somebody coming into your house and they open up your refrigerator and start eating. The host gets no pleasure from this. The guy going in there, he gets a very small pleasure because there was a much greater meal prepared for him. But what happens is he went in there and he started eating the appetizers. So his pleasure at the end of the day is he got a small pleasure, but at the end of the day, it didn't give the host pleasure. So let's say if the same guest comes in and you tell him, listen, I have a great meal. And the host says, no, please, I'm not hungry. I don't want to bother you. And the guest says, no, I don't want to bother you, please. So he creates something in Kabala called a masach, which is a curtain. We push away the light. Why do we push away the light? We push away the light because there's a much greater light. You understand? We push away the light. I'm going to go work out now. If somebody offers me a piece of cake, I'm going to push it away because that's going to destroy the pleasure I will have in my workout. So that smart people, they delay gratification. They push away the light to build an appetite to get a much greater light, etc. But if you don't know how to push away the light, you can never get a much greater light. Let's say all of a sudden a person tries to wake up in the morning to meditate, and he wants to have a very spiritual experience. He wants to have a big, big spiritual experience. If he has to push away YouTube at night all day long, he has to, drinking at night, he has to push away the light because if not, there's no appetite. We push away the light to increase the appetite. That means we have discipline because we want to. Now, when we receive, God receives, God's pleasure is received, and God's created the world in order to give. So you have to think of this relationship in your life, and where in the life are you not pushing away the light? Where in the life, more importantly, where in your life are you not appreciating? Because remember, if you don't appreciate, then you're not making the host happy. Wherever area we are ungrateful, we're sad, we're depressed, we are actually saying, I'm receiving, but my Creator's not happy. My Creator's not happy. We never want to give more to people who are ungrateful. Like the last thing you want to do is give a raise to an employee who you think you should be fired. They're coming to you for a raise, you're like, I don't even know how you're here in this company anymore. Like, how am I a raise? I wasn't even thinking about having you here anymore. It's the last thing I was thinking about. So this is the same thing in heaven. When we are coming in and we're asking for raises, where we really should be fired, it's because we lack gratitude. We lack appreciation. This is why when you appreciate things, it's showing that you know how to receive. Very simple. When you appreciate every moment, you receive. You appreciate your husband, you appreciate your wife, you start receiving more. Because you can give, you can appreciate it. God's pleasure is, if you appreciate your wife, then God will give you a greater relationship. But if you don't appreciate your wife, He'll take away the relationship away from you. If you don't appreciate your spirituality, your relationship with God, God will take it away from you. It happens many times. How many people have stopped appreciating the mitzvot, stopped appreciating things? What happens? They don't know how to receive? Okay, it's taken away from you. And then we pursue other kinds of pleasures, which is really a very shallow pleasure compared to a much greater pleasure. You know, this concept today of microdosing every single minute, you know? The concept of just a microdose is a problem. Because what happens? You're snacking every 5 minutes. In order to develop an idea, in order to develop a deep concept, you need a time to develop. I can't have a constant microdosing. This micro thing, this is the new term, microdosing. No, we need to, it's not, this term, it's not a deep, we need to go deep, we need to push away the microdosing and go more into depthness. And this is exactly why our Creator gives us these challenges, is in order to really, you know, another good example of this, I took my wife to the Backstreet Boys concert, you know, in Vegas. Her pleasure and my kids' pleasure were 1,000 times greater than me. I got there, I'm like, okay, when are we going to get this over with? Right? Because I don't have an appetite for the Backstreet Boys. I just don't have, it's not my appetite. You too, Coldplay, it's a different story. But my appetite was not there. So my pleasure was directly correlated to the amount of appetite that I had for that concert. So what we have to do is we have experiences that we're going through all day long. And we're having a terrible, shallow experiences because our appetite's in the wrong place. Our appetite's in the wrong place. You know, another good example is if you work out and you get a good pump in a workout, that pleasure and what it does to your body and it gives you focus, it's much greater than feeding garbage to your food, feeding garbage to your body. So once you start realizing, I want to delay gratification so I can get a greater pleasure that will stick with me, which that greater pleasure, it will make also my Creator happy. Instead of this the mindset today of instant gratification, etc. So think of it, the first thing is, think about the gratitude as a muscle. Develop gratitude and joy from simple mitzvot. Develop gratitude from employees. Show people more appreciation, and all of a sudden, they're going to want to give you more. The same thing. Show people less appreciation, they're not going to want it. Employees are directly related to the appreciation. If you appreciate your employees, they will do more for you. If you don't appreciate them, they will not do for you. It's that simple. That's business 101. It's nothing to do, the light, it's there. But according to the hunger, the desire is the lack. So here is, for example, you know, a person who's very, you know, a deep person can appreciate a good meditation, could appreciate a good prayer. A very shallow person doesn't know, their head's ADD, they don't even know how, they can't even connect to these concepts. Think about this in learning, you know, when you're learning. Some people say, Gedale, I love your classes, etc. I said, yeah, you like them because you have an appetite for them. If you don't have an appetite for them, you will not get delight from them. End of story. It's really, I'm giving you the same class. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm giving. Some people love them. Some people, it's not for them. It's because one very simple. One has an appetite. One doesn't have an appetite. Some people are seeking deeper learning, deeper spiritual, deeper purpose in life, and some people are not. So it's nothing to do with my classes. My classes, that's why I don't take anything personal. It depends on the appetite of the person listening. If there's no appetite, they're not going to listen to it. And you're not going to enjoy it, and you're not going to change. So the reason why what we have to do, instead of doing things, is to stop. We have to stop, and we really have to develop an appetite for it. You develop an appetite, number one, by appreciation, by also praying for it, to ask God for the appetite. Shabbat is the same thing. Some people love Shabbat because they've developed an appetite for Shabbat. Some people, Shabbat's a burden. It's not for them. It's very simple. The light of Shabbat is great. The light of Shabbat is a blessing. It's tranquility. It's a second soul. But how come some of us we don't have the appetite for it? Usually we have the appetite for other things. That stops other appetites. Because remember, if you're snacking, you can't enjoy the meal. So what are we snacking on today? If we're trying to get married, but we're snacking on the wrong girls and the wrong dates, or we're snacking. We're not focused on marriage. We're not focused on the one person and building the appetite for that one person. We're too busy looking at other situations. There it goes. You can't have the delight because the light it's not going to come to you. So discipline is the key to freedom. And freedom is the key to getting the greatest pleasure, etc. Let's take an example of this on relationship-wise, right? How many times would you say, and I say this all the time, how many times do the husbands really, really have, all they want to do is give. They want to make their wife happy, but the wife, no matter what they give them, they won't be happy. They can't receive. They don't know how to receive. So it's not that the love is not there, it's just you don't know how to receive it. Let's say you haven't cured your fears, your traumas, etc. That's going to stop you because the minute it's going to come, you're going to think it's going to go away. So sometimes God's light is there already for us. It's just we don't know how to receive. And today, what is receiving represent Kabbalistically? The Malchut. The Malchut. We are receivers. We are supposed to be receivers. We are supposed to create the vessels in order to receive the light. This is what God wanted to reveal. He revealed the Malchut. But we can't say that God doesn't want to give pleasure. His whole purpose was to give you everything you wanted in life. Was to give you spiritual pleasures, financial pleasures, love in your life, everything. But are you willing to develop depthness? Are we snacking too much? Look at intermediate fasting sometimes. You look at intermediate fasting, like if a person has intermediate fasting, at a certain level, that fat becomes energy. And they get incredible focus from it. So you understand the pleasure that they get is created by creating creating purpose and creating a hunger for that light. A hunger for the light of focus, a hunger for the light of this. So this is why it's very, very important that we should always pray for spirituality. Because when we pray for spirituality, we end up getting everything. So think about this as an example. Here's another reason. Let's say two people receive the exact same money, right? $1,000, right? And they both have a completely different reaction. One person receives $1,000 and he starts worrying and says, this is not going to last. I don't deserve this. Something bad's going to happen. I can barely enjoy it. Because this will lead more to stress than to a blessing. So that person already gets 1,000, is already thinking about how it's going to leave him and how quickly it's going to go. The second person receives $1,000 with gratitude, with wisdom, and how to use it well, and he realizes that this is a gift from God and he deserves it. They will experience more genuine pleasure and peace. What happens if you understand? If you know how to handle $1,000, then God will prepare you for $10,000. And if you know how to handle $10,000, God will prepare you for $100,000. Each level that we get, as we go up financially, etc., we get a lesser version of that experience to see if we're going to take the bait. To see if you're going to take the bait. And if you don't take the bait, you push off the pleasure to build the appetite for a much greater pleasure, you will get the greater pleasure. So this is where you have to push. You need to know how to push off shallow pleasures and go after deep, deep pleasure. And here's something counterintuitive. According to this teaching, spiritual growth is not about wanting less. It's about wanting more sophisticated things. We're not here to say I don't need the money. I don't need love. I don't need no. I want to be, I want to sit and meditate in the Himalayas. No, it's about wanting better things, wanting deeper relationships, wanting abundance of wealth where you can give charity, wanting health where you can be able to be at your peak performance spiritually and emotionally. And it's about wanting better things than not wanting shallow things. Looking for a wife, not looking for OnlyFans accounts. Do you understand? This is where we are. But remember, because we don't have this patience, we're shooting for the snacks. We're going for the quick snacks. We're not focused on the big picture, which is much greater than that. Much, much greater. And this is the difference between a child who wants candy and an adult who wants desire, meaning, truth, connection. The adult is not wanting less. They just want deeper things. So do you understand the amount of abundance that God has for this world? He has so much abundance for us. But we don't know how to receive. We don't know how to receive. Our appetite's in the wrong things. We're not looking for a deep connection. We're looking for shallow relationships that look good on Instagram. We're not looking for, some of us are and some of us are not. You understand? We're not looking for what is good. We're looking for what looks good in life. We're not looking for real health. We're looking for toxic foods and etc. And this is why today, this is exactly why we're not getting this pleasure. So the teaching completes how we reframe ourselves. Instead of seeing desires as something to suppress, we should look at our desires as something to refine and to elevate. We want to elevate these desires. We don't want to date, we want to look for marriage. You understand? We don't want to look for quick hits to get us out of debt. We want to look for abundance of wealth. But we need to understand that in that process, you're going to have to do a lot of pushing away. A lot of pushing away. They're going to offer you the lesser version of it. You're going to have to know how to push away. If you don't have that discipline, people ask me, Gedale, how are you so disciplined? How are you able to do this? It's very simple, because the pleasure I get from teaching a class, it's much greater than the hit on YouTube, than the stupidity, than having to drink all night. And that pleasure doesn't do anything for me anymore. I'm going for a deeper pleasure, which means I need to be focused and etc. Of course, everybody's human. We need to go on vacations. We need to do all this. But at the end of the day, smart people, they look for much deeper purposes. Much deeper. They're not looking for the shallow. And second, whatever they receive, they are completely grateful for. What they receive, they appreciate. That means if they appreciate something, that means God's happy giving it to you. If you don't appreciate it, He will not be happy giving it to you. And He will cut. And He will cut it until you figure out why He cut. And usually it comes down to lack of appreciation. This is why we have to always pay things forward. Charity is so important, because when you're giving charity, you're paying it forward. You're always giving it forward. Not only am I appreciating it, but I'm giving it away. This is why our sages tell us that whoever leaves bread in his meal, it's a sign of blessing. Why is bread living as a sign of blessing? Is because when you give bread away, it's teaching you that, what is it teaching you? You have more than enough. You have much more than enough. So again, let's number one, let's develop a deeper appreciation for things. Number two, let's refine our desires. Number three, let's invest in your capacity to receive, right? Think about how much, think about your husband compliments you, your wife compliments you. Appreciate it. Thank you. That was beautiful. They give you flowers. Wow, it was so special of you. Instead of, here, put it on the table. Well, I'm not going to be running to go get you another table if you don't appreciate it. So we want better things in life, and we actually want this connection, but we don't realize that we're not receiving well. And we are here to receive, and we are here to receive so we can give. And when we receive well, God gets so much pleasure. It's the greatest thing in the world. Everybody wins. God wins, you win, everybody wins. And this is why I ask people, What is your level of appetite for spiritual awakening? Some people gave me 3, some people gave me 5, some people gave me 10. I said, if you don't come in here at a 12, you're not going to get the light. So I asked people, why is your appetite so low? I'm court ordered. It's like I remember going to driving school because my driving's not the greatest. I wasn't there to become a better driver. I was there just to get rid of the ticket. So sometimes we're going through things and there's a chance to have a spiritual awakening and we're just going through the motions in life. So may God bless us all. This concept has to be little by little downloaded. I was downloading this concept for weeks, and I was able to make tweaks. And sometimes, instead of praying for things, I just built an appetite. How's my appetite? Do I really have an appetite? Sometimes in other areas, I didn't pray. I just appreciated more, and I saw shifts in everything from this concept because I was not thinking about myself. I was thinking about my Creator. Is my Creator receiving pleasure from this? That means if I'm happy with something and I'm joyful, this is why at the end of the day, not all successful people are happy, but all happy people are successful because they appreciate. God bless you guys. May we merit to growth and we develop to have appetite for the right things in life, not shallow, nonsense, clickbait, stupidity. Have a great day.